Hello everyone and welcome to my Halloween edition. Last year I did this creepy clown for Halloween and I wanted to show you the technique I used on her, so I'm making something similar today. Keep on watching to see what I mean. When I was brainstorming ideas for my Halloween doll, my boyfriend suggested doing a character from Five Nights at Freddy's. I have not played the game myself because I'm such a wimp, but he has a lot. I do, however, have watched hours of game theory videos about this topic, and the lore, mystery, and little clues here and there are just so enticing. And the very minute he suggested FNAF, I knew right away what character would make a really cool doll, and that is the puppet. Here is my rough sketch of what I want to make. Some of the details did change throughout the process, but the general idea stayed the same. For the base, I decided to do a hybrid. A Frankie head on a Twyla body. I really wanted to push the proportions, that's why I made the head as big as I could. I also wanted her to have very long, creepy hands, so I'm extending them with another pair. I'm gonna speed through the prepping stages, just because if you are a returning subscriber, you probably already know the steps. And if you are new to my channel, you can subscribe and go through my other videos to see this part in more detail. After the prepping, I'm moving straight to the body. I'm not going to do any heavy body mods to the body this time, so we can move on to the painting. To color the joints, I use a black Sharpie. I have done this before and it worked okay. At least it's a better option than just painting them, because the second you move the joint, the paint peels off. Because the Sharpie is kind of shiny or it has an oil slick finish, I'm going to paint on a thin layer of acrylic paint to make the surface nice and even. To protect the paint job, I seal it with this new varnish I picked up at the craft store. Thanks to my friends who got me a gift card to spend as I want. Obviously, I used every penny for doll supplies. The only problem with this new Panduro Oceanlack varnish is that you can only do one coat. Once it's dry, and it dries in minutes, if you put on more, the surface will turn all foggy. But otherwise, I really like it. To make her creepy hands so that she can jump scare you at night when you are going to the bathroom, I use wire to extend the fingers, then I fill in the shapes with hot glue. I like the icky texture the hot glue leaves, so I bring it up her forearms as well. Then it's paint and MSC on top. I'm painting her face with a light beige color. I want her to be ghostly pale, so I mixed the paint to match that. I thought I had run out of my basics acrylic in white, so I picked up another brand's paint because they didn't have it while I was in the store. What could possibly go wrong? After covering her scalp with black, I start the reroot process. For the hair, I chose this midnight black Saran from Retro Dolls EU. Never worked with Saran before, but they didn't have black nylon when I placed my order. After rerooting the hairline, I spot a problem with the acrylic paint. It didn't dry properly. The surface is very sticky and it collects every single dust particle and hair strand there is. I have already started the reroute, so I decided to finish that first before fixing this problem. You can see clearly in this shot how dirty the face got during the reroute. I decided to wipe off the acrylic paint and reapply it, and then after it's dry, immediately sealing it with MSC to prevent it from sticking everywhere. And the funniest thing about this mishap was that after the doll was finished, I found my big tube of Liquitex acrylic. So annoying! While I'm painting the face, I thought it would be nice and spooky to tell you a little bit more about the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, if you are not familiar with it. The games were created by Scott Cawthon. He was criticized that his style of characters was unsettling and robot-like. This pushed Scott to use this criticism to his advantage. The first game he created starts at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, where you, the player, are being hired as a new night guard. The twist is that the restaurant uses animatronics to entertain the kids and other customers. And at night, these animatronic robots would come alive, and it was your job to make sure they would not reach the control room. The scariness of the game doesn't necessarily come from the animatronics. They don't look that scary, but more from the fact that you can't leave the control room, and you have a limited amount of options to block the animatronics from reaching you. The first game was released in 2014 as an indie game. It became popular among YouTubers. And nowadays, the franchise has a cult following. There has been roughly 6 games, 3 books, 1 lore guide, and a horror movie about the games is in the makes. So the franchising is massive, and so is the storyline of the games and books. To give you guys some insight of the puppet character, I'm gonna roughly go over the story and its real life inspiration. The biggest question after the first game was, why are the animatronics coming alive at night and trying to kill people? Well, the answer to that is because they are possessed by spirits of children who were murdered. One theory about the game is that there was more than one restaurant, and this all started long before you were hired to work at the pizzeria. At the old location, there was only one animatronic, Freddy the bear. But there was also something else, a mysterious character only referred to as the Purple Man, and he was responsible for the killings. His first victim is referred to as the Crying Child. He kills this child at the old restaurant called the Family Diner. Couple years later, the restaurant business is booming, so they open up a new restaurant with more animatronics, called Foxy, Chica, Bonnie, Freddy, Puppet, and Golden Freddy. The Purple Man strikes again, and now all the animatronics are possessed by child spirits. But how did the bodies and souls of the murdered children come to possess the animatronics? One theory is that the first victim, referred to as Crying Child, has possessed the puppet. The puppet's purpose in the restaurant is to give the children birthday gifts. When the puppet discovers that the Purple Man has killed again, the child spirit is trying to revive the dead children by giving them gifts. When that doesn't work, the puppet then shoves the bodies inside the other animatronics and this way gives life to the dead children. But this is just a theory. The story of the games got even more scary for me when I learned that the inspiration for the games was based in real-life events. On December 14th, 1993, 4 employees were shot and killed, and a 5th employee was seriously injured at a Chuck E. Cheese restaurant in Aurora, Colorado. The perpetrator, 19-year-old Nathan Dunlap, a former employee of the restaurant, was frustrated about being fired and sought revenge. He was found guilty of 4 counts of first-degree murder, attempted murder, and other charges, and was sentenced to death in the electric chair on May 17, 1996. If that does not freak you out, you are a true Halloween spirit. Back to the doll. The puppet has very simple and distinctive design. Part of the design is the stripy forearms and legs. For my doll, I made her knee-high socks and long sleeves for her goth Lolita dress. I'm making a petticoat with a ruffled edge and a Lolita dress in black. I altered an old pattern of mine for the bodice. To decorate the dress, I used strips of black tulle, black lace ribbon, and smaller ribbon in the accent color purple. To close the dress, I use embroidery thread and finish off the ends with beads. To make the clothes look more Halloweeny, I dirtify them with tea staining. I put the dress on the doll to add the finishing touches. Another Another big design element on the puppet is the 3 buttons on its chest. I'm making mine out of airdry clay that I also picked up in my craft store trip. You might wonder why her face looks nothing like the puppet. Well, because she is going to have a detachable mask held in place by magnets, just like my last year's clown doll. I place the magnets where I need them. To hold the magnet inside of her head, I add glue. I also reinforced the connection with paper mache. We don't want that to come undone and bounce around in her head. I use more of my airdry clay to make the mask. Also, remember to protect the face with some plastic wrap. The mask did shrunk when it dried, and because the acrylic paint on her head refuses to dry, it's still kind of soft. So the mask did leave some marks on her face. I turned them into little cuts, but it's a little bit of a bummer because her face up turned out so good. After the mask is dry, I sand and shape it more with my knife. It's painting time. I first dab on brown to make the mask match the outfit's aesthetic. Then I paint on her blushy cheeks, creepy lines of purple tears, and red lips, all while referencing pictures of the puppet on my phone. To seal everything in and to cover her face completely when she is wearing the mask, I glue on black fabric. The last thing left to do is putting her head back on. I like to trim my neck pegs. I think it makes it easier to shove the peg back inside. And now she is done. Thank you guys so much for watching and happy Halloween. Subscribe if you haven't yet done that, tap the bell while you're at it. Like this video and leave a comment. I would love to know what you think of my version of the puppet. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Josephine Screeches. Until next time, bye!